If you, like myself, have tried countless different versions of sound therapy but have not been sufficiently satisfied by the result that it has given you with your tinnitus, then you are by no means alone. Yeah, hello and welcome back to a new video here on my channel. My name is Tinnitus Coach Frieda. I am 34 years old from Berlin in Germany, and I am a professional tinnitus coach. Some of you guys might not know me yet. I have been born deaf on my left ear, and I live with a hearing aid and a high-pitched severe tinnitus for 15 years now. If some of you are wondering why I'm pointing to my left ear, but you guys see it as a right, just think about it. It is the mirror thing with cameras, right? Today in this video, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about sound therapy. If you, like myself, have tried countless different versions of sound therapy but have not been sufficiently satisfied by the result that it has given you with your tinnitus, then you are by no means alone. I really understand and know that it is very difficult when the one thing that most audiologists or most ENTs tell you should do the trick with your tinnitus is failing you. And in this video, I explain to you why my personal belief is that sound therapy at the start, when people start dealing with tinnitus, is something that can be very beneficial to help with the immediate anxiety. However, in the long term, I'll tell you also why sound therapy in the long run might be a bad idea, and I give you a few strategies towards the end of dealing with tinnitus in a much better way. And let's get started. So when you hear about tinnitus and sound therapy, then often you hear if you have these hearing aids in, then we put a sound masker like a pink sound, a white noise, some rain sounds or ocean sounds, and that will mask your tinnitus. Therefore, you will be paying less attention to your tinnitus. And in theory, yes, that's absolutely fair and square. In practice, the problem is, what if your batteries die? What if you are in a place where you really need to be paying attention, and then in the background there, in addition to the tinnitus, is another sound that is taking cognitive ability from you. So you're basically focusing on all these different sounds, and eventually you're like, this is too much. And the problem with sound therapy is not that if we use it sometimes in moderate resources as a tool to help our overall ability to maybe sleep with tinnitus, etc., but the problem is the long term. And in the long term, I have found out that your biggest problem and your biggest obstacle with tinnitus is not the sound itself. However, it is the way you respond to the sound. So how you respond to your tinnitus makes all the difference. And therefore, when you constantly mask the tinnitus with sound therapy, you constantly mask the underlying reaction that you have towards your tinnitus. And the big problem is not the tinnitus sound in itself, it is the physiological reaction, so your body's hormonal reaction to the tinnitus with the stress hormones, etc., that is leading to fight or flight, or another such as the freeze response, or any other of the responses that your body deem as emergency necessary programs. And why is it so important to recognize that? Well, if we always mask our tinnitus with sound therapy, then the big problem that it creates is that we never really deal with the thoughts and emotions that create this physiological reaction. And right now it might feel like it is automatic to you, but it is actually not. So it is very important to understand that yes, there are some automatic elements, but even those we can start to learn about. And we need to start to learn about the emotional reaction that we have to tinnitus in order to also habituate in the long run, meaning that our brain stops paying constant attention to the tinnitus and that it stops bothering us. So in the short term, I always say to people, it's no problem at all if you use sound therapy for being able to sleep or being able to cope just a little bit, then that's absolutely fine. But in the long run, when you are getting your brain used to sound therapy being constantly there, then probably you start hearing like, oh, is this sound therapy still effective? Can I still hear my tinnitus? Where's my tinnitus now? What is it doing? and all these kind of things, right? And then the problem is you get so used to the sound therapy that you're still annoyed by your tinnitus. So it's sort of like a rebound effect, that you need a higher dose of sound therapy, or you have sound therapy on all the time. But what if you suddenly are in a place where the sound therapy is not available anymore, your battery dies or something like that? And then the huge emotional reaction comes. Wouldn't it be much better if you could be like me? I am deaf on this ear, I have severe tinnitus and a relatively large hearing aid in that ear, and I am not bothered by my tinnitus. I can hear it all the time. I can walk outside on a 4-lane street and I can still hear my tinnitus, but I'm not bothered by it. You know why? Because my brain knows that tinnitus is nothing dangerous. It doesn't have to respond with fight or flight. I don't have to think and constantly try to think of ways of how to avoid it. I can simply be with it in my nervous system and I can be fine, right? And in the long run, this is the state you want to achieve. And therefore, in the long run, when you use sound therapy, you avoid the natural adaptation to tinnitus. And that's why I say often we need a lot more combinations of tools and things that we can share with you in order to make a beneficial tinnitus journey happen for you. And these tools are rooted in the behavioral science, and they're called cognitive behavioral therapy, so CBT, and acceptance and commitment therapy. We also throw in a mix with mindfulness-based techniques, as well as, for example, right now we had a month of stoicism inside our program. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute, but also self-compassion, right? If this is really difficult with tinnitus, why not be compassionate with yourself? Right? If your best friend or the person you really loved was telling you like, oh, I'm going through this, how would you respond? You would pat them on the back and say like, hey, I got you. Anyways, so what I wanted to show to you is something very, very important that can make all the difference when you're trying to come off sound therapy and getting real and lasting tinnitus relief. So when you are looking for a long-term solution for tinnitus management, then I can suggest you check out our community, which you can reach at www.mytinnitus.club. When you go into the community, you dive into all of these amazing resources. I'm right now in the tinnitus and stoicism space, but we have spaces for everyone and for everything. For example, a new member space where new members introduce themselves and get a nice and hearty welcome, and you get all of these nice people that are welcome you into the club, and you have all these amazing resources at your hands as well. For example, there is a special program on tinnitus and sleep. We have, of course, a lot of different course structures and things for you to learn in here. For example, acceptance and commitment therapy. And of course, you'll be able to access also our coursework. We have many basic courseworks in the basic relief subscription, and then even more extensive 8 weeks course and a 2 days retreat in our premium subscription to the club. Of course, we would be super, super happy to have you join us here at www.mytinnitus.club. And I can only tell you, as usual, what I'm saying on my channel, from my heart to yours. Even if sound therapy was not fully the right thing for you and it didn't do the whole trick in getting you better and getting you long-lasting tinnitus relief, then join us inside our club. On the 31st of October, for example, we have a Halloween party where people from all over the world, we have people from Canada, from the US, from the UK, from Australia, from Europe, from Germany, from Austria, from the Netherlands, literally from anywhere in the world. So if you want to learn positive ways of managing your people and your tinnitus, not your people. Managing your people, yeah, maybe if you're a managing director, but yeah, probably we want to stay here and help you manage your tinnitus and not your people. And yeah, that is best done inside www.mytinnitus.club. Thank you so much for subscribing. It really helps me grow my channel. It's been a difficult and tough year for me with burnouts and depression. I've shared this story before. I'm happy to continue sharing, so if you guys have any questions about that, I'm getting back on track, taking things slow, but I will continue to put out videos and podcast episodes. It really means a lot if you leave me a comment of whether you liked it or what you would like to see in future. And if you subscribe and hit the notification item, and then we always get you the latest videos on what you can do to get tinnitus relief in the long term and what is more beneficial than simply sound therapy and masking your tinnitus all the time. I wish you all the best right now, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Goodbye.